What if the thing you use every day to search the internet, translate languages, unlock your phone with your face, and even get medical diagnoses, what if you had absolutely no idea how it actually works? Most people don't. And here's the strange part. Even the scientists who build these systems sometimes can't fully explain what's happening inside them. So let me ask you this. What's the difference between artificial intelligence and machine learning? Are they the same thing? Is one inside the other? And what about deep learning? Is that just a fancier word for the same idea? And generative AI, the thing that writes essays, creates paintings, and holds conversations, where does that fit in? If you've ever felt confused by these terms, if you've nodded along in a conversation pretending you understood, if you've Googled it and come back more confused than before, this video is for you. Because by the end of the next few minutes, you're going to understand all four of these concepts so clearly, you'll be able to explain them to a 10-year-old. Let's start from the very beginning. If you enjoy videos like this, make sure to like and subscribe. What people believe. Here's what most people think when they hear the word artificial intelligence. They picture a robot, maybe humanoid, maybe with glowing red eyes, maybe trying to take over the world. Or they think of a supercomputer, some massive machine in a government facility calculating the meaning of life. And honestly, that image comes from decades of science fiction. From HAL 9000 in 2001, A Space Odyssey, from The Terminator, from Ex Machina. Hollywood trained us to think of AI as this singular, all-knowing, conscious entity, something that thinks the way humans think, but faster and scarier. But here's the thing. That version of AI, it doesn't exist yet. What we call AI today is something completely different, something quieter, something already woven into the fabric of your daily life, so quietly that you probably don't even notice it. Why that belief is incomplete. The word artificial intelligence is actually an umbrella term. Think of it like the word vehicle. A bicycle is a vehicle, so is a skateboard. So is a Boeing 747. They're all completely different things, different sizes, different engines, different purposes, but they all fall under the same category. AI is the same way. Machine learning is a type of AI. Deep learning is a type of machine learning. And generative AI is a type of deep learning. They're nested inside each other, like Russian dolls. And most of the confusion people have comes from using these words interchangeably, as if they all mean the same thing. They don't. Each one represents a different layer of complexity, a different method, and a different level of capability. So let's peel back those layers, one at a time. Background and history. To understand where we are, we need to go back to where this all started. The year is 1950. A British mathematician named Alan Turing publishes a paper. In it, he asks one of the most important questions in the history of human thought. Can machines think? He didn't answer it directly. Instead, he proposed a test. Put a human in one room, a machine in another. Let a judge have a text conversation with both. If the judge can't tell which is human and which is machine, the machine passes. This became known as the Turing test, and it planted a seed. For the next few decades, scientists tried to build intelligence the obvious way. They wrote rules. Thousands and thousands of rules. If the chess piece is here, move it there. If this word appears, translate it as that. If the patient has these symptoms, diagnose this disease. This approach was called symbolic AI, or rule-based AI, and for a while it worked, in narrow, controlled environments. But here's where things get interesting. The real world doesn't follow clean rules. Language is messy, images are chaotic, human behavior is unpredictable. You can't write a rule for every situation. There are too many situations. And so by the 1980s and 90s, scientists began to ask a different question entirely. What if instead of teaching a machine the rules, we let the machine learn the rules by itself? Core explanation, machine learning. That question gave birth to machine learning. And the idea behind it is surprisingly simple. Think about how a child learns to recognize a dog. You don't hand the child a textbook that says, a dog has 4 legs, fur, a tail, and makes a barking sound. If all 4 conditions are met, it is a dog. You just show the child dogs, lots and lots of dogs, big dogs, small dogs, fluffy dogs, shaved dogs, dogs in hats. And over time, the child's brain starts to recognize patterns. It builds its own internal model of what a dog looks like without ever being told the explicit rules. Machine learning works the same way. Instead of programming rules, you feed the machine data, enormous amounts of data, and you let it find the patterns on its own. This is why machine learning is sometimes called training a model, because the machine is literally learning from examples, just like a student. And here's the most powerful part. Once a machine has learned from enough examples, it can apply what it learned to situations it's never seen before. That's called generalization, and it's what makes machine learning so incredibly powerful. But most people don't realize machine learning has been around since the 1950s. It's not new. What changed is the amount of data we now produce and the computing power we have to process it. The internet gave machines an ocean of data to learn from, and modern processors gave them the speed to swim through it. But here's where things get really fascinating, because even machine learning has limits. Classic machine learning is great at structured data, spreadsheets, numbers, categories. But what about images? What about speech? What about language? How does a machine look at a photograph and understand what's in it? This is where the next layer comes in: deep learning. Deep learning is a subset of machine learning, but it works in a completely different way. And to understand it, you need to understand one of the most brilliant ideas in all of computer science: the artificial neural network. Here's the analogy. Your brain is made of approximately 86 billion neurons. Each neuron connects to thousands of others. When you learn something, certain connections get stronger, others get weaker. Your brain literally rewires itself. Scientists looked at this and thought, what if we built something like that in software? So they did. An artificial neural network is a system of layers. Each layer contains nodes. Think of them as simplified artificial neurons. Information comes in at one end, passes through the layers, and a result comes out the other end. The deep in deep learning refers to the depth of these networks, the number of layers stacked on top of each other. Shallow networks have one or two layers. Deep networks can have hundreds, and each layer learns to recognize something different. In an image recognition system, for example, the first layer might learn to detect edges. The second layer might learn to detect shapes. The third layer might learn to detect textures. By the time information reaches the final layers, the network can recognize faces, objects, emotions with terrifying accuracy. Now here's the question. What made deep learning suddenly explode? Three things happened at roughly the same time. 1. We got more data. Billions of images on the internet, terabytes of text, years of audio recordings. 2. We got faster computers, specifically graphics processing units, GPUs, originally designed for video games, turned out to be perfect for running neural networks. 3. Smarter algorithms. Researchers figured out better ways to train these deep networks without them breaking down or getting confused. Put those three things together, and somewhere around 2012, deep learning stopped being a research curiosity and started dominating every AI benchmark in existence. It was like someone had been driving a 1970s car for decades and suddenly switched to a jet. Let's slow down and make sure this is crystal clear. Here's how a deep learning system actually works, step by step. Step 1. You collect data. Millions of labeled examples. A million photos of cats labeled cat. A million photos of dogs labeled dog. Step 2. You feed that data into the network. The network makes a guess, usually wrong at first. Step 3. You compare the guess to the correct answer. How wrong was it? That difference is called the error or loss. Step 4. You send information backwards through the network, a process called backpropagation, adjusting the connections to reduce the error. Step 5. You repeat this millions of times. Slowly, painfully, gradually, the network gets better. its internal connections shift. It starts to recognize patterns that no human explicitly programmed. Eventually, you test it on data it's never seen before. If it performs well, congratulations. You have a trained deep learning model. The surprising part? Nobody told the network what to look for. Nobody wrote the rules. The network discovered them on its own, buried in the data. Examples. Let's make this even more concrete. When Netflix recommends a show you end up loving, that's machine learning. It analyzed your watch history, compared it to millions of other users, and found patterns. When your email filters spam, that's machine learning, trained on millions of examples of what spam looks like. When your phone unlocks using your face, that's deep learning. A neural network learned to map the geometry of faces and match yours specifically. When a doctor uses an AI tool to detect cancer in an X-ray, that's deep learning. The model was trained on hundreds of thousands of scans and learned to spot abnormalities that human eyes sometimes miss. When you talk to Siri, Alexa, or Google Assistant, that's deep learning processing your speech, converting it to text, understanding what you meant, and generating a response. This is everywhere. And all of it is still just the setup for the most revolutionary development in modern AI. Generative AI. Here's where things become genuinely mind-bending. Everything we've talked about so far, machine learning, deep learning, most of it is discriminative, meaning it learns to classify, sort, and predict. Is this email spam or not spam? Is this tumor malignant or benign? Is this voice speaking English or French? But what about creating something new? What if instead of classifying a cat photo, the AI could generate a cat photo that has never existed? What if instead of categorizing text, the AI could write text that sounds like a human wrote it? What if the AI could compose music, design architecture, write code, diagnose diseases through conversation? That's generative AI, and this is where most people's minds either light up or short circuit. Generative AI doesn't just recognize patterns, it uses patterns to create new things. The most powerful form of generative AI today is built on something called a transformer, a type of neural network architecture introduced by Google in 2017 in a paper called "Attention is All You Need." Without going too deep, transformers are remarkable because they can understand context across enormous amounts of text. They don't just read word by word, they understand relationships between words, even words that are far apart in a sentence. This architecture is the foundation of GPT, Claude, Gemini, and most modern AI language systems. And here's what changed everything about training these systems. Researchers discovered that if you trained a transformer on essentially all of the text on the internet, it started learning not just language, but facts, logic, reasoning, even creativity. The model saw billions of examples of human writing: textbooks, Wikipedia, forums, code, poetry, medical papers, legal documents, novels, and buried in all of that text, it discovered the structure of human thought. Real-world applications. So where does generative AI actually show up in the real world? You've probably heard of ChatGPT, the AI chatbot from OpenAI that caused a global sensation when it launched in late 2022. Within 2 months, it had 100 million users. That's faster than any technology product in history. But ChatGPT is just one example. Midjourney and DALL-E generate photorealistic images from text descriptions. You type "a sunset over a cyberpunk city with a child flying a kite," and it paints it in seconds. GitHub Copilot writes code alongside software developers, suggesting entire functions, fixing bugs, explaining logic. 11 Labs clones voices. You give it a few seconds of audio, and it can generate speech that sounds indistinguishable from the original person. Sora from OpenAI generates video, not just still images, full, coherent, physics-accurate video clips from text descriptions. And in medicine, AI models are now being used to design new drug molecules from scratch, a process that used to take years and cost billions of dollars. This changes everything. Not in the science fiction way, not robots walking around, but in a much quieter, much more profound way. The tools of creation, writing, design, coding, analysis, are becoming democratized, accessible to anyone. Benefits. The benefits of all of this are staggering. Speed. AI systems can process and analyze information millions of times faster than any human. Scale. One AI model can serve millions of people simultaneously, without getting tired, without getting sick. Accessibility. A student in a rural village can now access a tutor that has read every textbook ever written. A small business can produce professional marketing materials without hiring an agency. Discovery. AI is accelerating scientific research. In 2020, DeepMind's AlphaFold solved a 50-year-old biology problem, predicting the structure of proteins, in months. That discovery alone could unlock cures for diseases we've been fighting for decades. Risks and limitations. But here's the part most AI enthusiasts gloss over. There are real risks, serious ones. Bias. AI systems learn from human data, and human data contains human prejudices. Systems trained on biased data make biased decisions, in hiring, in lending, in criminal justice, and they do it at scale. Hallucination. Large language models sometimes make things up, confidently, without any signal that they're wrong. They generate text that sounds true, because it follows the patterns of true-sounding text, even when the content is factually incorrect. Misuse, deepfakes, misinformation, automated scams. The same technology that creates stunning art can create convincing fake videos of politicians saying things they never said. Job displacement. This one is complicated and genuinely uncertain. Some jobs will be automated, new jobs will emerge, but the transition will be painful for many people, and it won't be evenly distributed. And perhaps most importantly, the alignment problem. As AI systems become more capable, ensuring that they pursue goals that are beneficial to humanity, not just goals that look beneficial on the surface, becomes increasingly important and increasingly difficult. These are not reasons to fear AI, but they are reasons to take it seriously. Future implications. So where does this all go? We're currently in what most researchers call the era of narrow AI, systems that are extraordinarily good at specific tasks, but can't generalize the way humans can. AlphaGo can beat any human at Go, but it can't make you a cup of tea. GPT-4 can write a stunning essay, but it doesn't understand what it's writing the way you do. But the direction of research is toward what's called artificial general intelligence, or AGI, a system that can perform any cognitive task that a human can. Most serious researchers believe we are years or possibly decades away from that. Some believe it will be the most transformative event in human history. Others believe it will be the most dangerous. Almost everyone agrees it's coming. And the decisions we make now about how to build these systems, who controls them, how they're regulated, what values they're trained on, those decisions will echo for generations. Key takeaway. So let's bring this full circle. Artificial intelligence is the broad idea. Machines that can perform tasks that normally require human intelligence. Machine learning is the method. Instead of programming rules, we let machines learn from data. Deep learning is the technology. Neural networks with many layers that can understand images, language, and speech at a superhuman level. And generative AI is the application, systems that don't just understand, but create. Each layer builds on the one before it, and together, they represent the most powerful technological shift since the invention of the internet, maybe since the invention of electricity. Here's the final thought I want to leave you with. For most of human history, intelligence was biological. It lived in neurons. It was born, it grew, it learned, and eventually it died. For the first time in history, we are building intelligence that is synthetic, that can be copied, scaled, and improved at a rate that biology simply cannot match. We are not just building tools, we are building minds. And what we do with that, how we guide it, govern it, and shape it, may be the defining challenge of our time. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.